Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gwen McCall Winston, and I am the Deputy Director of Administration here at NMC PPC Office of Planning. I want to thank all of you that are here today and those of you that are virtual online. I just also want to say that I am excited about this brown bag session. I've heard a lot about it. This coming up in 7 days will officially be my 3-month anniversary, so I'm here to learn as well as a lot of you. Again, welcome to this ground bag session of PG Atlas, and we're thrilled to have such a diverse group of attendees today in person and online, committed to enhancing our planning efforts and sharing valuable insights. This session is going to be a great opportunity to engage in meaningful discussion about PG Atlas, its applications, and how it can serve as a vital tool for our communities. I encourage each of you, in person and online, to share your ideas, your experiences, and your challenges so that can help us use this resource as a tool to move forward with our collective goals. Today, I encourage you to engage, have conversation, make sure you dialogue, ask questions, all of the above. And going forward, myself and my team, we look forward to continuing conversations with you and connecting. These brown bag sessions that we have provides valuable information. So if you have not done so, I encourage you to sign up so that you can continue to get information when we're hosting this. It's an opportunity for you to listen and learn, and it gives us information from you so that we can share, so that we can improve and move forward with better programs here at Planning. I want to take this opportunity to thank Natalia Rojas for putting this event together. And I'd like to thank Jim Canistra and his team from Information Management Services Division for this PG Atlas update and this review. And again, I'd like to thank the District 1 County Council for attending today. Thank you all. Appreciate you all being here. And any guests and all of the above, thank you all for attending. With that, I am going to turn it over to Natalia. And I'm going to turn this over to Natalia.
Thank you, Leticia Director. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give a quick update. So next session on November 18th will be on Go Prince George, which is the new preliminary functional master plan for transportation facilities in the county. Please remember to register. Registration opens after this session finishes and closes 1 week before the next one. So please, we encourage you to register as soon as possible, as sometimes some topics get more popular than others. This webinar is also certified for 1 CM credit. We will share the code, the CM credit number in the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Deputy Director McCall Winston. I'm Jim Canistra. I'm the Division Chief for the Information Management Division. So I oversee, one of the sections that I oversee is the GIS section. I'm joined today by 2 of my colleagues, Rob Gelner, who's the GIS section supervisor, and Nora Barenglet, who's a GIS specialist and does a lot of our PG Atlas training. Thank you all for coming to talk about PG Atlas. This is an application in an environment that the department is very committed to utilizing, enhancing, and supporting. We have a lot of different users that are using that application right now. We're very proud of the application. Personally, I think that it's one of the top GIS applications and environments amongst all of the county governments throughout the country. So what we're trying to do today is to give you an overview of some of the capabilities of the system, some of the things that you might not be aware of. So that's the primary focus. I'd like to start off the session with a couple of icebreaker questions. First question is, how many attendees have used PG Atlas? So if you can identify that in the chat, that would be helpful. The folks that are here in the audience, if you can raise your hand if you've been a user of it. As I suspected, a lot of people have used this application that are attending here today. But when did the first PG Atlas application go live? How long has it been? Anyone here?
2005.
2005. Well, Close to it. Yep. And actually, it's kind of a trick question because there's really two components to it. It went live in year 2000, so right as the millennium. But the branding associated with PG Atlas really happened in 2009. And what this slide shows is some of the different iterations of PG Atlas over time. And you can see that, when it first started, it was really just a tool to be able to get property-related information or property queries online. And since that time, it's evolved to be a very robust GIS web viewing tool. And one of the things that's important is that, we're continuously trying to upgrade this application ourselves to support better the capabilities of our users. But then as technology changes, it's also essential that we update that application to support some of the technology changes, whether they're security, changes in browsers, changes in some of the tools that are operational. How many page views do we get on a monthly basis? Anybody? 18,000. Well, again, you're close, but not quite. We get about 25,000 page views, on a monthly basis. People are logging into and looking at PG Atlas. Now, actually, that number has increased pretty significantly over the last couple of years. You asked me about it 2 years ago, I would have said the answer was about 12,000. But since that time, through increased promotion, increased training, increased utilization, increased development throughout the county, we're up to about 25,000 users, on a monthly basis. And we also track and monitor users of our PG Atlas mobile application and then our other web-based applications. So we have this dashboard that's available online that shows, what the utilization of some of these tools and products really are. And they continue to grow over time. And then last question is, how many map layers are available in PG Atlas?
100.
Okay. Close again. The answer is 200 plus. I actually tried to look at and count all the individual uniquely distinguishable applications that were available, from our menu page on the website. I sort of gave up at 200, 250, but we had really close to 400 or so uniquely differentiable layers that can be displayed in and of themselves on PG Atlas. So, as I said, the focus today is mostly to highlight some of the capabilities that you may not be aware of. We do have training information that we'll go through a little bit later. We offer training, both in person and virtual training. We have for different offices, for example, Council District 1 representatives are here. In the past, we've done training sessions for special groups that have a unique requirement. We do have a couple of recordings on our PG Atlas site that are recorded sessions for detailed training at PG Atlas. And Nora is the primary lead trainer for that. And then we do have an email for anyone to be able to request PG Atlas training. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob and take it from there. Rob.
Thank you very much, Jim. I have Nora Barron with me. I'm Rob Kellner. I'm GIS manager. And what we're going to do is do a little brief demonstration about some of the basic things that we can do in PG Atlas, make sure that we have the bases covered. And this way, if you are interested in training and interested in giving us some feedback about the future evolution of PG Atlas, we would love to hear from you. So let's go ahead and switch to PG Atlas. Great. Nora, so I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I want to find some information about my property. I'm doing some renovations, I'm doing some work, and I need to look up some information. How would I do that?
Okay. First of all, can everybody hear me? Okay. All right. So, quite simply, first off, we're going to just look up your address. Now, it's just a simple way to get right to your property. So, we're going to type in an address here. We'll just type in your address. So, this space to park. And we're going to go to search. So, we've been brought right to your property here. So, we can actually see, we're going to block here. So, this is just our search results. So, this is just going to give us some information about the property. So, you can see, for example, what district your taxes will be in, your tax count, your lot, block, parcel, property description, other information that might be important to you, including your ownership information. Now, this is just a bit of information about it. If you want to see your full tax account record, you can click on the head count number and see that. So this is the full tax account record. This is publicly accessible. Now, what you can do if you want just some highlighted information about that, you can actually export this as either a PDF or an Excel sheet. So we can have that right there. Now, if for some reason the PDF or the Excel are acting very strangely, you can go to our Identified tool.
You go a little bit under.
Okay. Is this better? Okay. You can actually go to the Identify tool, click on the property right there, and you'll see this box here with the arrow. So you can actually open it up in a printer-friendly window. So you can actually just print that out in case, the PDF or Excel are acting very strangely. Okay.
That's cool. So what I see on the right-hand side of the screen a whole bunch of little icons. What are those about?
Okay. So those little icons can basically allow us to look at the property in different ways besides just getting the information. So a lot of you might be familiar with Street View imagery using Google or Bing. We have our version called Street Smart, which is run by a company called Cyclomedia, and that's going to be this icon with the white S here. And what this will do, we'll pull that up here. And we're going to make that full screen. So we can actually see the property right here in the kind of Street View imagery. You can just click on the blue dots to move around. And you can also, depending on where you are, you can go back in time. Right now it's from 2024. Some areas you'll see it's back to 2020. In this case, it's not, so it's pretty recent. And you might even find some streets here that maybe aren't on Google Maps or, Bing Maps might be, it's definitely more up to date. Okay, we're going to adjust that a bit. Okay. That's better? Okay, yeah. Working with Mike, so apologize. Okay, and another thing we have, of course, is the Bing Maps link, which is this B. So if you want to open up a Bing Maps, we have that available. And then if you click on the G with the map background, that will actually open up Google Maps. So those are available to you. But I want to actually show this one right here, which is this one with the compass. That's pictometry, also known as Eagle View. And what's really, really cool about this one is, unlike some other aerial imagery you may see, you can actually rotate it. So you see how there's this compass up here with these arrows? You can actually click on the arrows here to actually rotate it around. So this is really neat because, you can see things from different angles. So maybe you want to see maybe the back end or figure out other areas for directions. And you can also turn on to see some street names as well, if you want to see that. And what's also really nice about this is you can actually export it as PDF, so you can have it for later on if you like.
That's one of the nice things that a benefit that we enjoy from having some partnerships with the Prince George's County government, working with them and their GIS shop for sharing data and imagery back and forth so that we can all view it together. So next question I've got is about development activities. So I've heard about a development activity, a development case that's going on, and it's coming up on planning board. How am I going to find out more information about that?
Okay, well, we actually have a specific PG Atlas application that will actually show you planning board. So you see this advanced mapping. This is default version PG Atlas. I like to say everything but the kitchen sink. So if we click on this grid, you can see there's a planning board right here. So you can actually see any upcoming cases before a planning board. In this case, we've got list for that's coming up on our planning board on Thursday. And so we can actually just zoom to one real quick. So we can zoom to this first one. So we can see where it is. We can see all this information about the case, including, the description and all that information. Now below that, you'll see some documents. So maybe you want to see what's going to be, the planning board presentation. You can click on that and you can actually see that there. It'll take a moment to load, but you can actually see that. And what you can do is you can actually just download this, print this out to your computer for reference later. Then another thing you will see up here is these two links. You have the links to the DART site. So you can actually click on that to view it in the DART system. So you can see that information in the DART system. Here you can even see some, other attachments that maybe aren't on the documents. And you can also see any contacts for people who have worked on it. So there's that. And if you're a staff member, you can click on the staff access if you're planning department staff, and you can actually access it through the staff side as well.
That's important to remember is that we offer up that link and the information for the development activities case in PG Atlas. It's always going to be a little bit behind. For the most current information, you really want to go to the link to that DART site. That's got the most current information about the development case. We update our data on PG Atlas, the core data, property boundaries, zoning, the development cases. We do that every Monday. So that way, when somebody comes into the office on Tuesday morning, it's all fresh and available. So in going through the development cases, and once everything is done, then we help work with the county and the Department of Permits and Inspections. And we have a little partnership with them as well, where they provide us quarterly data on their permits from their Momentum system. So where can we go and find some information about permits?
Okay, let's make sure we're on advanced mapping. And let's just refresh because it looks like there's something going on here. So we're going to actually zoom in a little bit here. So we do have, like Rob said, we do have some permit data, which we have the Momentum system from DPI. And what we've done is we've taken some commercial and residential permits from them that we get, again, quarterly, and we math them. Now I'm going to go to the legend here so we can see, because there's different dots. They're going to different colored and shaped dots that are going to represent different types of permits. So we're going to identify a permit right here. Click on that one right here. So we can get information about this. In this case, this was a residential building alteration. We can see that right here from this information here. You can also see the permit number, so that might be reference if maybe you're using the Momentum system. You can then look it up later, and you can see where it is and all that other information. Now we do not have a link to the Momentum or DPI system. We are working with them in the future to get to their Look-See application where you can find out more information.
Yeah. Again, as we get the data quarterly, DPI will have the most recent, most up-to-date information. So we're really looking forward to being able to get that so we can better integrate our system with DPI's work. So we're zoomed in pretty close here. Working with DPI, I know that we get a lot of requests for people pulling permits, and where DPI is really interested in the contours. They want to see what's going on in the property, impacts. Why don't we go ahead and turn on impervious surface? Because that's going to show us things like the road edge of pavement, the building footprints. That's going to be, that's under environmental, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is.
That's quite okay. We've got a lot of data here.
Yeah, but it's hard to know where all the data is. But yes, we do have some impervious surfaces, which are from 2023, so they're not the most recent, but they are pretty good. It's going to take a moment to load.
And like I said, we want to take a look at those contours, see what's going on, because maybe I'm putting in a new pool, and we're interested in looking at some permits for that.
Yep. So we do have an elevation group where you can look at the contours, the 2-foot contours from 2023. Now, we can see those. Now, obviously, they're lines. They are labeled. They might be a little hard to distinguish from maybe for someone who's not maybe a topographic expert. So you can actually turn on the digital elevation model as well. So we can see, let's go down here. There we go to the elevation. So we can actually zoom out a little bit just to get a perspective. It's going to take a moment to load. PG Atlas does like to load.
So the contours really work well when you're looking at an individual property or just a handful of properties. But as you zoom out, those contour lines really get close together and get very muddy and difficult to see. And that's where seeing a digital elevation model can really be beneficial to get you a better understanding of how the topography changes over the landscape. One of the things that I want you to know is that with working with permits and DPI, depending on the permit, depending on the application, they'll accept an image, a printout of the kind of contours that we have here. But sometimes they want an accurate survey of your lot or parcel. That's not something that we provide. You don't actually need to engage with a surveyor to get that information to provide to DPI. So in working with this, now that I'm working on building a pool, I want to invite all my neighbors in the community over. So I'm going to send them a little postcard.
How would I be able to get the addresses and make up an address list so I can set some information?
Yep. So we actually have an address extract application. So I'm going to go back to this grid beside advanced mapping, and I'm going to click on the address extract here. And you can actually get a list of up to 3,000 addresses. So you can have everyone in your community if you want. So first you're just going to do a starting point. So we can just put in, say, your address, as your main one. You can do a search. Now what you can do is we have different ways you can select different properties. So if you know maybe just a couple within your community, you could do a property boundary. You can even draw a polygon on the screen, but you can also do a radius. Now, if you're more familiar with the term buffer, that is the same thing. So you can get a whole bunch of properties, up to 1 mile from your starting point. So let's just say for your community, everybody is within half a mile. So you can just click on that. It'll take a moment to process. And you'll see here's a circle that represents that half-mile radius, and everything in teal are all the properties that we selected. And over here, we can actually see the number of properties. So that's 747. Now you can get a list if you do the Excel, or if you go to PDF, you can actually get mailing labels in the Avery style. You can do 1 or 2 columns. So we'll just do 2 columns for this. And then you can select, do you want to contact maybe the people that actually live at the place, or maybe the owner, because there are going to be cases where maybe your neighbor rents from someone else. In this case, maybe you want to talk to the person, your actual neighbor, and then you can just type in your email. And we're just going to type in email real quick. And then you can just type in whatever you like that to be called. So we'll just call it invitations. Correctly, and then you can just click generate a file, and you'll actually be sent that. Now, another way you can do it is if you actually come into the search, and you go to this dash square, that's the select by area tool, and we can just do, basically you can draw kind of similar to before, except you won't have that radius option. So we'll just do a freehand polygon. So we're just going to just draw on the map, grab a couple here, and we're just going to double click to finish. If my thing wants to work, okay, let's double click. There we go. So I have a list now of, maybe some that we want to select. So we're going to click add all to the data cart. I'm going to go over to this data cart here. So here's my list, and I can export it as a PDF or Excel. And again, I can do mailing labels by clicking on the envelope, and again, 1 or 2 columns, and then I'm just going to create, and you'll actually see basically what it will look like. And then you can just download those and print them out.
All right, thank you. So PG Atlas, we have a lot of layers there, and I know that there's some information about it. If I'm curious about finding out, you mentioned that the impervious surface was from 2023. How would we find out more information about a particular layer that I'm looking at? Maybe where it comes from, information about it. How would I get to that?
Okay, so if you go to our map layers, and we'll go back to that impervious surface data, or we'll just go to floodplain right here because that's up here. You will see beside every layer there's this little question mark. So you can actually click on that. That's going to take you to the GIS data catalog, and this will give you the documentation or metadata about it. So we can read all about what is in this layer. We can see even when it was last updated. And down here we have a list of attributes, so what type of data was collected for that specific layer. You can also do a search here as well. So if there's a specific data that you just want to do pull up real quick, so you can just type in, for example, addresses, pull up the address point. Now, another way you can also get to this, if you go to these three dots, which are more, and you go to this icon that here, the third icon, you can click on the GIS data dictionary right here as well.
There's a lot of information. So now I've gotten together with some folks from a school, and I'm working with them on a project to help map things in the neighborhood. Now, these are some GIS savvy kids that need some GIS data. They're hungry for it. Where can I send them to get some data that's used on PG Atlas so that they can use it in their projects?
Yeah, so if you go to the Planning Department GIS Open Data Portal, you'll see basically you just need, all of this data, by the way, is free and accessible to the public. So you just need to go to the right type. So let's just go with an Esri file geodatabase, and that's going to open up all the layers that are available in PG Atlas, or definitely available. And what we can do is you can just click on the right one you want, and then it will actually download to your computer, and then you can just extract it from the zip file and use it in the project.
Thanks. Now, I want to make a good point here. A lot of the data that we have, we share with different agencies. Some of the data, you're honestly better off going to the authoritative source. We get data from the state of Maryland. We'd be much happier if you yourselves went to the state of Maryland to get that data. They may have updated it before we had a chance to get a copy. We try to keep our data up to date, but we realize that sometimes they release something that we're just not aware of. So checking here with us, that's great, but we may send you to another source just to make sure you have the most current information available. So we've looked at some data, we've looked at some information with property, we've looked a little bit about some development cases and permits. So let's say I make a little map. PG Atlas has the ability to create some graphics. I can add some text to things, but how would I then share that with people?
Yeah, so you can actually go to our toolbox, which is this wrench and hammer here, and you can actually click on this second to last one, which is says the save map option. You will see the share map option, and if you click on share, you'll see a link. And you can just share this link with anybody who is working on the project with you. I'm just going to open up a new window, and we're just going to post in that link, and you'll get this. Well, it's going to load, but you'll get this disclaimer that'll pop up every time you go into PG Atlas. And once you get out of that disclaimer, or once it's finished loading, it will actually show you the map. We'll just try and refresh it, maybe see what's happening. There we go. There we go. So there's the map. Okay.
One of the cool things about sharing a map is that it takes you to the extent of the map that you created. It saves the graphics, any circles or any text that you add to it. That way you can communicate with folks and that you can share back and forth. So I use PG Atlas a lot, and sometimes when I log in, I only see part of the drop down of the layer list. What's going on there?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Now, as Rob mentioned, PG Atlas is updated, but sometimes it just has a little hiccup waiting. So you can try refreshing your screen. So that sometimes will get it to work. Other times, since we do update it weekly, you'll actually need to clear your browser's history. Now, we've actually provided instructions in the news. If you go to Display Next 5, under where it says clear your web browser's history weekly, you can actually find instructions on how to clear your web browser in both the Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge browsers as well.
Great. That's a lot of information and a lot of utility. I would like to open it up to see if anybody has any questions about PG Atlas, about the training that we offer, and about maybe the future. We're looking for opportunities. We're looking for ways that we can make PG Atlas better and better integrate with different agencies and data.
Rob, we did have a few questions online, but before I get to that, I understand that some of the folks online had some difficulty hearing. There may have been a technical issue associated with some of the sound input. I will say that this session has been recorded, and we will be able to provide a link to the recording to those people that signed up. And as I mentioned at the beginning, anyone that's interested in taking PG Atlas training that's more detailed than what we're offering here today as an overview can certainly contact us at our email, and we'll be able to provide that to you as we schedule the next round of sessions. One of the questions that we had is, are MNC, PPC, or planning department employees required to be trained in PG Atlas? The answer to that is yes. When staff are onboarded, the vast majority of staff that have roles associated with reviewing development applications and plans do get trained on PG Atlas. So we also had a question relating to the features that were available. They referred to it as the last set of features, but I think that what that meant were the features that were shown in the DPI system for permits. And yes, we do have residential, as Nora said, and commercial permit data that we get periodically that we load into that's accessible as point features in PG Atlas. We're also working with DPI. They have an application called Look-See, and essentially it allows someone to look up a permit based on an address or a parcel number. And we have the permit ID stored in our GIS, and we're working with DPI to be able to have a direct link to their momentum system, and conversely, a link between their Look-See or permit viewing application to PG Atlas as well. So that's sort of in the next round of updates. I see a question from the audience.
Is
They
there
need the mic.
I was wondering if there is a application where you could search up a specific community and then you can see how many properties are in that community.
I'd like to ask a question back. How do you define a community?
Such as the subdivision?
Okay, so we do have some capability of being able to search on a subdivision, but it's by the subdivision name as it's recorded by the state of Maryland, by the assessment and taxation. One of the opportunities we've always wanted to explore is trying to map neighborhoods. And that is a very difficult thing. Everyone has a different definition of what their neighborhood is versus their neighbor's neighborhood. So what we can do is, Nora's driven down and has done a search based off of a subdivision name. And what we can do is that we can use that to drive through and start identifying those properties within it. So as long as the the subdivision name as it's assigned by assessment, you can get there. That said, there are plenty of misspellings. There are many different ways to spell something, so you need to make sure to get that correct.
And the one other thing I'll add to that is that we do have that capability to generate a list of addresses from a user-defined polygon. So if you identify a specific neighborhood or area that you're interested in that's not necessarily a specific subdivision, we can get that information. And then, of course, we also have all of this data, not necessarily in PG Atlas, but in our enterprise GIS system. So any types of custom requests, like that, are ones that can be submitted. We have an online request form. You might want to go to that, Nora, just show it on our website here. But we do have an online request form, and if people have information requests that something can't be obtained directly in PG Atlas, that we're usually able to provide support for that. So, next question.
Hi, quick question. So I've noticed with using PG Atlas sometimes and looking up an address on Google, the home would be blurred. I haven't actually tried the other options of mapping when that has occurred, but have you guys run into that problem, and is there anything that could be done to kind of for those type of situations?
So the blurring that you see on Google is privacy.
Okay.
And that is the individual resident that reaches out to Google and requests, hey, I don't want my house, my property shown, please blur it. Sometimes you also run into that for matters of national interest and security. So when it comes to Street Smart, They also have that ability to increase their privacy. Internal staff, through some logins, are able to see through that as needed, but a lot of that gets handled by the company and through those private relationships.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Quick question. Thank you. If you showed us the open data catalog, in terms of both the what is it,
Pictometry and Eagle View.
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the Street Smart, could I access that like as an oriented imagery layer, or is that like if I wanted to if I wanted to access it locally, am I able to download the
No.
Okay.
That is, we benefit from the county government, and I would send you to Prince George's County Government's GIS folks to have a conversation with them about their allowed use for you in your projects directly.
Okay.
But you can use it as a user through PG Atlas. The actual imagery itself and being able to download it and use it, that's a conversation to have with Prince George's County Government. Property Munsaka is their GIS manager, and I can put you in touch with them.
Thank you.
So probably 95% of the data that we're showing on PG Atlas is downloadable and accessible. There are a few data sets, and that's one of them, that is a licensed product that's a little bit more restrictive. We also have other data sets in our GIS system that we don't necessarily show on PG Atlas, but we use for certain types of applications that have certain restrictions associated with them too. So again, any of these things, reach out to us and we can tell you sort of, is it available? If it's available, we'll try to provide it to you. If not, we'll try to tell you who to get it from.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I'm sorry.
That's perfectly good.
Is there an easy way to see what on the open data set, which what is an authoritative copy and what's not?
Through the open data site, not yet. One of the things that we're looking to do is better integrate our metadata and the open data in itself. Really to find the authoritative version and who is responsible, you'll want to go to our data catalog to read the metadata. And we've tried to do a pretty good job in detailing if there is a layer that really we would prefer you to go to, say, the state of Maryland and MDI map to pull down in a lot of cases.
What we're showing on the screen right now is metadata information associated with the information in our data catalog. And there is a way also to click on that feature in PG Atlas to pull up the corresponding relevant information.
Perfect.
So that's a really good question because, when you have 400 different layers in your database, different data sets have different vintages. Some things have different sources, but it's very important for the people that are using some of this data to be able to understand or at least get information about what it is that they're looking at, and because things have different times and sources.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, I have a question regarding the training. So how long is the training? And just a follow-up, do you get like a certificate of completion when you do the training?
So the training is typically around 2 hours. Sometimes it's a little less. It really just depends on the amount of questions, where we do go more in depth and everything. I don't think there's any certificate unless you're a planning department employee where you do get credit through our training system. But that's about it that I know of. I mean, if there's a specific certificate, maybe we could work something out that you need for your district or whatever.
In the past, we have provided acknowledgments, that someone may not be an official certificate with a seal, but we've certainly provided documentation or acknowledgments that someone's taken the training and has successfully completed it. So, and Nora does instructions in our neighborhood planning academy sessions that completion of PG Atlas is one of the modules in that session. And there are some questions, to be asked and answered formally as part of that training process as well.
There is an online question. Is there a user manual?
Oh, okay. I was like, what is that?
So yes, there is a help and thank you. Yes, we do have a help section that is very well documented. There are also some training videos. The link is through PG Atlas itself, correct?
Yes. Yes, so to get to the help, you'll see up here, if you click on these three dots that has the more, if you click on the question mark, that will get you to the help where you can just click on a specific feature or, something you want to know. So let's say you want to know about the data cart, you can open it up, see some information, then you can just click on the link to see a video just on that specific feature or item.
Any other questions?
My closing comment is just, again, thank you everyone for attending, both here and online. I showed at the beginning a slide that showed the evolution of the PG Atlas products since the year 2000. And about every 4 to 5 years, there's changes, substantial changes. We're changing it pretty much every year, with some modifications. But next year, we'll be going into a phase where we do sort of a re-review of the technology requirements as well as the user requirements, and looking to do, what may be a sizable update of the application itself. As part of that process, we try to reach out, or we do reach out to the user community to get feedback on some things that are working and some things that others would like to see, some improvements. So probably in about 6 months or so, we'll begin that requirements process. So I just encourage all of those that are users of the application to, reach out to us to provide any feedback that you may have. So thanks, Nora and Rob, and thanks, Natalia, for facilitating this. And again, thank you, everyone. And we got one last question about access to the PowerPoint. We will be providing that to everyone. Thank you.